Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Weekend Winners in association with BetVictor. This is your go-to show for your best bets ahead of the weekend or ahead of Good Friday, as it is in this case. And we are on to episode 10, how time flies when you are having fun. And there's even more fun to be had this week because we are looking ahead to the All-Weather Championship Finals Day at Newcastle. So much to look forward to, and I'm going to be looking forward to all of the action in my usual company of half of the team anyway, because I'm being joined by Sam Boswell of BetVictor. But Sam, we're without our other company and your brother-in-arms with Declan Ricks, who's on his well-earned holidays, but on the back of an 11-2 winning nap last week, we've lost him.
I know, he's clearly going to spend all that money that he won over in Portugal. I believe he's enjoying a golfing break, as they call it these days. He's not at the Masters, he's not that good. But I'm very excited to say that we've secured, I think, an absolute super sub, especially when it comes to this weekend. Nicely
teed up, yeah. We have brought in the big gun then for this weekend, our resident all-weather expert, Simon Mapletoft, who is going to be at Newcastle yourself, Simon. So thank you so much for stepping in, and just great to have you with us.
Guys, it's a pleasure to be with you. This is the highlight of my year in racing terms. We have so much to look forward to, of course, on Sky Sports Racing. But this is the big day, make no mistake. I spend a lot of time at Newcastle, as you know, in pretty freezing cold conditions through much of the winter. This is payback time for me. I can really indulge myself. And what a fantastic card we have.
Yeah, you are spot on, Simon. So much to look forward to, and we cannot wait to dissect your thoughts and really get into a deep dive into these particular races with your opinions. But before we get cracking with the racing, a reminder to please do gamble responsibly, that our tips are not guaranteed to win, but we will still do our best to point you in the right direction anyway. And also a reminder to like and subscribe to the At The Races YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. Right, let's get cracking with the racing because we begin with the 1:15. This is the listed Burradon Stakes over a mile up at Newcastle. A pretty open renewals though, Simon, where Arabian Storm we're expecting to be heading the market here. But your opinions on this race?
Yeah, this is a fascinating forerunner to the 6 championship races. Although it's a listed race, Kate, we don't have an awful lot of form to go on because the leading contenders are essentially coming out of novice company. But I was at Newcastle to see Arabian Storm win just recently. I liked what I saw in the prelims. We can only take the performance in isolation. It wasn't a strong race in the context of this. But I love the way he used himself, the way he stretched out. He had the race won in a matter of strides. And, I think he's going to be a horse who will go on to much better things. He's bred to be very good. He's bred to see out the mile very strongly. And, yeah, I think he's the one who will make the grade and is the one they've all got to beat on the evidence of what we've seen so far.
Yeah, and like you say, and potentially using this then as a further springboard to even better things going on then into the future. So Simon is keen on Arabian Storm, Sam, but I think that you and I are in a little bit of agreement here.
Yeah, 50-1 for the Guineas, by the way, Simon Selection. Just get in there if you think he's going to improve that much. But this race is cracking. I really like the look of it. And I thought Dear My Friend was probably, having looked at what sort of prices I think we're going to be going in at, I think this horse could be a bit of a fly in the ointment. A busy enough, typical Mark Johnson type Charlie Johnson, I should say now, typical type at 2, had several runs. And I think the best of the form going back through it was the third at Deauville to a horse of Aidan O'Brien's that went on to win at the Breeders' Cup. I suppose the surface would be the only sort of thing you could really potentially be concerned about. One on debut, so first time out after a break, wouldn't be too much of a worry for me. And I just thought the horse had the profile of a really potential type that could improve from 2 to 3, top rated in the field as well, and there was an awful lot to like. And I think projected price around 6-7 to 1. I thought couldn't see the horse out the frame myself.
No, and I was fascinated when I was looking at this before we had any prices going up. And I thought Dear My Friend would be vying for favouritism here. And so I'm in total agreement with you, Sam, as well. Honestly, Simon, we've spent too much time together, Sam and I, in the last few weeks. This is why we're starting to think the same things, which I don't know if it's a positive or a negative. But I expected to see him at a lot shorter price than we're probably going to be getting for this particular contest. And I know he's the top rated in this, which instinctively makes you look at a horse in a listed contest straight away. But it's not a completely done thing that you've got a top-rated horse in a listed race, that's therefore going to make them the horse to beat. But all the form he has to back him up, like you say, he is coming here off of a 181-day absence, making his reappearance. But I'm not concerned about that. Won his first 2 races. He still managed to improve upon that despite not getting his head in front in 3 subsequent runs. For me, he just didn't get home over 10 furlongs in the Group 3 Zetland Stakes. So the drop back down and trip should really suit him. So the pair of us 2 in agreement though. But Simon, just to reiterate your own selection.
Yeah, it's Arabian Storm for me. It wasn't a clear-cut decision. I just think this race is teed up really for a horse that's on the improve, that's unexposed. So Arabian Storm is the one I'm going to go with. But just keep an eye on Flight Plan as well. Carl Burke has said some very bullish things about this horse, and apparently has been working really well. I saw him win at Newcastle as well. I was impressed with him. He's a nice physical specimen who's done well over the winter. He's in the Guineas as well, albeit at a massive price at this stage. But I think he'll cover himself in a bit of glory as well. So if you want something at potentially bigger odds, Flight Plan interesting, but Arabian Storm, when it all boils down, I think he's the one who is going to take this opening contest.
Wonderful. And an extra bit of insight there as well. Exactly why we've got Simon on the show this week. But Sam and I both in agreement with Dear My Friend. Again, do leave your own selections for this race in the comments below. Now we're going to move on to our next race. This is the Easter Classic up now. This is a condition stakes over a mile 2 at 3 o'clock. A fair few all-weather favourites in here, but arguably not a vintage renewal of this race. But it does make it competitive again though, Sam. So who are you siding with?
Yeah, Forest of Dean obviously heading the betting there, and him and Harrovian have obviously done battle plenty of occasions, and I just wanted to take on the favourite. I don't think there's as much as the market suggests between them. I did want Harrovian to have a bit more in the race. I do think he's a better horse in a bigger field, if that would make sense. I think that would suit him better. I'm quite hopeful Freescape could potentially be the one to go forward here, rather than Harrovian having to make the running. I just think, looking back on his recent runs, I thought the 2 runs at Lingfield, where he actually finished ahead of Forest of Dean, were both very creditable. I know Forest of Dean in a smaller field race got the better of him at the track at Newcastle, but I just wonder if maybe the market's got it. I'd have him a bit closer, put it that way.
OK, have it a bit closer than the market would necessarily have it. But he makes a compelling case, though, Simon, doesn't he? So are you in agreement with Sam, or are you looking elsewhere?
Well, I'm going to take the Gosden horses on. I'm not a real fan of either of them in particular. I do think it's a slightly disappointing renewal, and that's because most of the better middle distance horses are chasing even bigger prizes out in the Middle East. But we can only deal with what we've got. And I certainly think Forest of Dean has vulnerability. I know he won quite readily in a fast-track qualifier at Newcastle 2 starts ago, but it turned into a sprint. He has got a good turn of foot, and he was able to use that to sweep Harrovian, his stable companion, aside. There wasn't much between them in the Winter Derby. I think Harrovian is vulnerable as well on this stiff track to a stronger finisher. So, you know, at the prices, they're both a little bit on the skinny side, but they are from a big stable, so they will continue to attract support. I've got to take them on. And I'm looking for some value here in Freescape, the Irish horse, who, OK, hasn't really been lighting up the scene in Dubai this winter, but his good form is not that old. He was second in a good listed race at Dundalk back in September, almost won it. He's a very good operator at this kind of level or a level beyond. He won a handicap at Dundalk in really good fashion, again over a mile and a quarter, under 10 stone 4. And of course, he wasn't beaten far, if you wind the clock back to last year's Dubai Carnival, by Lord Glitters in the Group 2 Singspiel. So this horse has some classy form to call upon. He's very proficient over the trip. He's an all-weather specialist. And I just think this is a race where we need to look for a bit of value. I think there are holes to be picked in the front 2. And Freescape, for me, if we're going to take the front 2 out of the equation, is the obvious one to go with.
Oh, you know, I'm slightly put off of my own selection now, because I was really toying between Freescape and Forest of Dean, and you've just made such a cracking case for Freescape at his current price as well. But I'm going to have to stick with my original selection and give a third and final different selection from what we say about this being not a vintage renewal of this particular contest. So not really helping viewers out all that much with going with 3 different horses. But Forest of Dean, though, for me, after I was toying between the pair of him and Freescape, but I really like this horse. I'm going to have to be on original side of the favourite back over this course and distance. As you say, Simon, he won over this course and distance on his reappearance. Not disgraced behind his stablemate Lord North in the Group 3 Winter Derby. Form which looks very strong. Lord North winning his Group 1 in Maidan. The third, Fox's Tails, winning a listed race at Kempton next time out. But Forest of Dean made his challenge against the inside rail. Wasn't the place to be on that particular occasion. So I think he can be forgiven for not finishing closer in that race anyway. Hopefully he can bounce back, and he's well enough treated at the weights anyway. So Forest of Dean for me, Sam.
Harrovian, please.
And Simon, you are with Freescape. So again, 3 different selections there. You're very welcome. Again, do leave your own selections in the comments below. Now we're going to move on to the Mile Championships Condition Stakes over a mile, surprise, surprise, at 3:35. We have Berkshire Shadow as a strong favourite in here though, Simon. So are we looking to stick with him, or are you willing to oppose this favourite?
No, I've got to be with Berkshire Shadow. He's a horse who I think will go on to better things. He's clearly thrived for being gelded over the winter. He's got some classy form from last year, this horse, and I think he could really kick on this year. He impressed on his reappearance in this Wolverhampton race, the listed Lady Wolfruna. This was over 7 furlongs. He's got no problem at all with the mile, and this has clearly been the plan for Andrew Bowling all along to get him qualified and to do so in style by winning a listed race just a few weeks ago and head straight to Newcastle for Good Friday. This is a horse that I think we're going to see a little bit more of, perhaps in Group 2 and Group 3 company over the mile as the year goes on, and that was a really nice starting point for him. For me, he's going to be a little bit on the short side, but I think he sets a pretty demanding standard here.
Yeah, and another horse then, like you say, that you're expecting to go on to bigger and better things in time though, Sam. Are you in agreement with Simon, or where are you?
Yeah, I'm delighted to hear Simon agree.
The relief in your voice then.
Listen, I thought 11 to 8, I know it's not necessarily the most glamorous of prices to be tipping one up at, but as Simon said, Andrew Balding seems to be targeting, obviously, these prizes. I thought watching the VT back where he was running over the 7, he was hitting the line really nicely. I expect he'll come on for that. And let's not forget, he was 5th at the Guineas, running on at a huge price last year. I know he then went on to disappoint, but as Simon mentioned, since being gelded, he's obviously back to winning ways. And I think at this level, he really is going to be a classier operator than most of these in the field.
Yeah, see, again, the pair of you two make a really strong case for this horse, but you have those horses where you just have a slight sticking point with them, and he is one for me where the gelding operation may well have sorted him out and sorted out what I perceive to be a few little kinks and quirks where under pressure in closing stages he had a tendency to hang on occasion. So I would just like to see him do it again before I steam in to be backing him at his current price. So for that reason, it's just enough of a doubt for me to side against him. And the horse where at least I know more of where I am with him is Positive, who obviously is coming here in great heart, bidding for a hat-trick as well. And last time out when he won at Kempton, he defied the £2 rise. He never really looked like he was going to win inside the closing stages there, but he surged and rallied in really good style late on to manage to get up there. And as I say, he only won by a short margin, but it was over the mile trip. And he just looks to have finally found his feet again after looking a really promising horse as a juvenile back in 2019. So great to see him back in his better form, which hopefully he can continue. So Positive for me. But you two are both teaming up, though, taking on my selection with Berkshire Shadow. Again, do leave your own selection in the comments below. And now the final race on Newcastle's card is the Sprint Condition Stakes over 6 furlongs at 4:45. And again, this does look a very open renewal where Anaf heads of betting in a bid to bring up a 4-timer. But Sam, can this horse go in again, or are you looking elsewhere?
Oh, he can, but I really am keen on the chances of Harry's Bar at a double-figure price. You can't really have a big UK racing card without an Irish Raider picking up a pot, and I'm pretty sure Ado McGuinness's horse will go well here. I know some people may reflect on the run last year where he was a shade disappointing, I think it's fair to say, but he just didn't really get the break that day. He ended up a little bit caught wide, and that was kind of the race over for him. But he's tough as old boots. You know, this horse is just one of those horses that he seems like he's been around forever. He does go a little bit up and down, but he was third in the qualifier to Berkshire Shadow, which, you know, if I like him, I've got to technically probably like Harry's Bar at a big price coming back down in trip, which I think will suit him. Asheen Murphy booked to ride, so there's another positive there. And I think where he's drawn today will suit as well, give him a bit of choice as to where to go. As long as he doesn't miss the break, and he hasn't on his last 2 starts, he's looked a bit quicker out the gate. I've got no concerns, and I think he'll go well at a big price.
I was going to say a nice price horse, and that Sam's going to war with in this contest, Simon. Where are you looking?
There's only one horse to focus on for me, and that is Anaf. I've had quite a few conversations, Kate, about this horse in recent weeks with trainer Mick Appleby, who will be crowned champion again for the 7th time this weekend, and also Ross Orion, who we can see winning on this horse in the listed Catchy Stakes. Mick is adamant that this horse is going to cut the mustard at Group 1 level this year. We'll just see how he can acquit himself on turf in due course, but you know, he's rock solid here. He's won a couple of novices at this track. He loves the track. The stiff finish really plays to his strengths. He's gone through the gears this winter, winning that listed Catchy Stakes in great style. Loved his turn of foot. Now, the crucial thing here is that you need a horse potentially who's going to be tactically versatile, because I can't see a great deal of early pace. That's not really going to suit the closers that much. Horses like Summergand, who really rely on a good, strong gallop. Anaf can be versatile. He can be held up off a strong pace if need be. If the pace is not that keen, he can race handy. And he has got that rather withering turn of foot that makes him potentially a top-class sprinter. There's more to come from him. Spoke to Mick yesterday. He said, I couldn't have him in better shape. So connections are bullish. I'm bullish as well. Anaf, he's my nap of the day.
We love that word, bullish, on this show. That's where we like to head. But Anaf then to go in again. But I thought you made a really interesting point there, Simon, about the pace in this race, because I was in total agreement. For all that this is the sprint, I cannot see a whole load of pace in this. But then when you've got Newcastle on the straight track, if that headwind is as strong as we tend to expect there, that's going to play havoc in terms of the biases, in terms of the tactics for this race. So that really threw my head into a spin with this. So I was just sort of trying to chance anything at a bigger price then. And a horse that I have a toxic relationship with, and I know that a lot of other people will as well, Mum's Tipple here, who is a horse where when he's on song and when he's good, I know you pull that face for good reason, then he is very, very good. But it is just catching him right, which is the thing. But at present, he certainly seems to be worth keeping on side, especially on the back of his success the last time out, winning back in handicap company at Chelmsford. An interesting call, I thought, at the time, because Connections elected to run him there instead of the listed race he won in 2021 at Wolverhampton. But he was keen enough over the 7 furlongs last time out. I think the drop back in trip is therefore a good move just to help him settle. And he pulled clear with the other classy horse in the race who finished second. So Sean Levy back in the saddle. He won on him 3 starts back at Wolverhampton anyway. So I'm going to take a chance that Mum's Tipple can come good again. But Sam?
Harry's Bar for me.
And Simon?
Anaf for Mick Appleby, who can, I think, crown a wonderful season for the champion trainer.
Yes, exactly. Hasn't he had just a wonderful season, as we tend to expect from Mick Appleby? Anyway, now we're going to head over to the Sky Pad, where I'm going to get the lads' best bets for the weekend. It's time to reveal our best bets for the weekend. So that's our nap, our next best, and our long shot. And Simon, you are our star edition then this week. So it feels only right to start with you first, please, for your 3 best bets.
Well, my best bets, I've got to start with Anaf, who is my confident nap of the fixture. I just think this horse is going to really acquit himself well in pattern company as the season goes on. He can crown a great winter season for his trainer, Mick Appleby, the champion trainer. Next best is the horse who runs in the marathon, Berkshire Rocco. He brings a bit of class to this race. He was second in a Ledger as a 3-year-old, of course. And I just think he's going to stamp his authority on that 2-mile feature. My long shot, I'm going to Lingfield for this one, for the Vars meeting in the 350. Tom Ward's horse really impressed me by the way he won at Southwell just recently. He's a hold-up horse. I think he'll get into the act from a slightly wide draw when it really matters. He's only gone up a pound for that recent win. And at something like 20-1 or thereabouts, I think he's real value to run a big race down on the poly track.
If one all-weather meeting wasn't enough for you, Simon, you've had to go elsewhere as well, but you will be at Newcastle. They're reporting for Sky Sports Racing, but with a token eye then on Lingfield's action as well. Now, Sam, your own best bets for the weekend.
Yeah, well, I'm pleased we've had Simon on the show, and I'm absolutely delighted that he was very, very bullish around Berkshire Shadow, so that's going to be my nap. I just think Andrew Bording's horse should be a cut above these. I think he'll prove you wrong as well, Kate, and those kinks will be ironed out, and he'll go well. At the moment, odds against. My next best, Harrovian, I'm going to take you both on here. I do think he's going to be able to show just that he has been a little bit unlucky, I'm going to argue, and I think that he could potentially upset his stablemate, and I think the golf in the prices is just a little bit too big there. My long shot, actually, I couldn't resist a jumper, could I? And I've gone and had a little look at the Irish Grand National. Not certain we'll see this horse running, but if Tenzing turns up, I think he's got a cracking price of making the frame at around 14-1. He's got a little bit of form with Jerry Colombe, and I also think the soft, heavy ground that they've got at Fairyhouse at the moment should really suit. That's a very good card, as well as all the brilliant action we'll have live on Sky Sports Racing for All-Weather Championships Day.
Yes, and like I said, and we did say weekend deliberately, then best bets for the weekend, because Sam has taken us, though, further afield beyond Friday and looked at some action going into the weekend. Now, my own best bets for Friday, I am just sticking to the sole day for me, and all at Newcastle as well. My nap is positive in the 3:35. This is the mile to hopefully bring up a hat-trick for all the reasons explained before. The fact that he comes here in such good heart, and I don't really want to be backing the favourite, despite the lads making the good argument for Berkshire Shadow, whereas I trust Positive to give his running. My next best then is Dear My Friend in the 1:15. Again, a horse that we talked about earlier on, a horse with much more to offer. Hopefully will be suited by this drop back down in trip. And my long shot, I really am a glutton for punishment in this particular race, because I'm siding with another old friend of mine that I have another toxic relationship with, Alligator Alley, in the 4:45 at Newcastle. A horse that I will always try and take on at a short price. But when I'm getting a big price about him, he's always worth a second look, because we know the ability that he has. My concern for him here is the lack of pace in the race, where he really needs to be brought along by a big field contest. He's got plenty of runners to aim at. He's got the running style that should suit. It's just whether or not he gets enough pace to aim at here, so I'm taking a bit of a gamble at that current price for a horse that has been a little bit hit and miss for me over the years, admittedly. But that is everything from us on this week's show. A big thank you to Sam and to Simon for all of their hard work. Simon, have a wonderful time at Newcastle. We will all be tuning in on Sky Sports Racing, of course, where you can catch all of the All-Weather Championship finals day. As well as that, we've also got Lingfield and Bath on the channel. All of the UK racing is exclusively live on Sky Sports Racing, so you don't want to miss any of that. You can also keep up to date with all of the action on the attheraces.com website and the At The Races app as well. We'll be back next week, where we will be previewing the biggest race of them all, the Grand National. You don't want to miss that. We're back on our usual Friday slot next week.